Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and it is time to pick books for February. Don't know how, but it seems like it's that time again. Per usual, I'm going to be playing my unicorn game to pick 3,000 pages worth of reading. It should probably be shorter since it's a shorter month, but oh well, we're just going to go with it. So, to play my TBR game, I am basically going to choose a letter from this deck of letter cards, and that's going to tell me what the title of the book's going to be. I'm then going to spin a spinner wheel and get a prompt from that. And then those two prompts together are going to tell me what books I'm going to be picking off my TBR shelf over there. Unless I can't find books to match, and then all chaos ensues. I feel like this month things should go better than they did in January because I do have a ladder to reach my bookshelf, so they shouldn't be out of reach. There should be just fewer problems overall. All right, let's go ahead and pick the first book. It's going to start with the letter T. Okay, that seems like a safe choice. Let's see what the prompt is. FOMO. Okay, interesting. Okay, so before we talk about book number one, you may be wondering why it's brighter and seems like it's daylight, because it is, and why my outfit has changed, because it has. So I actually recorded this part of the video on the same night that I recorded the spins and stuff, but I forgot to check the volume, and so you basically couldn't hear what I was saying. So it's a different day, but the prompts are the same. So let's go ahead and talk about what book I picked for number one. Book number one needed to start with the letter T and needed to be a book that I was afraid that if I didn't read, I was going to miss out on. So fear of missing out, FOMO. And for that book, I picked Tinder is the Flesh. This is a book that I definitely bought because I was afraid of missing out on what people had to say about it, but then became more interested in it after LA at Literary Layers read it. And there was at some point some other book that kind of reminded me of the content of this book, maybe kind of, sort of, not really. What is this book about? I would basically describe it as being a dystopian fiction in which, as far as I understand, all the animals in the world like have gone extinct. And so now as a source of protein, humans have come into play and are being made in factories. I don't know how accurate that is, but that is the understanding that I've gotten from other people talking about this book. This is not a particularly long book. It is just 209 pages, and it will be interesting to see what I think about it. The next book needs to start with the letter C or K. All right, back to the wheel. Unfinished. Do I have a book that starts with the letter C or K that I haven't finished yet? Oh, I think I do. A book whose title starts with the letter C or K is nice because it gives me choices. And in this case, I had to choose a book that I had started but had left unfinished. I wasn't sure I was going to have a pick for this, and then I remembered that I have The Known World by Edward P. Jones. I did start it, I put it back down, I'm happy to pick it back up. And in fact, the reason I put it down was because some of the historical information that it talked about regarding slavery is things that I had never heard of before and thought would be really good for discussion in a book group. So yeah, that's my plan. This is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and I really don't know a lot about the plot or anything, so I'm curious to see how the historical element of this fits in with any sort of plot. And The Known World is 388 pages long. The next book needs to start with the letter D. Excellent. Oh boy. 25 and 25 pick. I'm pretty sure I know what this book is. For a book whose title starts with the letter D, I needed to pick the book off of my 25 and 25 list, and I had the feeling I knew what the book was, and I was correct. It is Don Quixote, and I'm actually really excited to get to this year. This is a book that is actually occurring on multiple lists I have for 2025, and it's because I really want to read this book this year. This is the Edith Grossman edition. This will be a reread for me. I read this Back in high school, it must have been because I know I wouldn't have had the time to get through this in college. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the humor. I enjoyed just reading about Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. I convinced my husband to read it a few years ago, and he absolutely loved it. Yeah, it's definitely a satire, it's comedic. Some people don't like it because the beginning and the end of the book feel slightly differently. I don't recall that being a problem for me. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into this story. And it is a chunker. It is a mammoth book. It is 940 pages long in this edition. I don't know that I will finish this in the month of February, but I am definitely looking forward to getting it started. Book number 4 is going to be a book whose title starts with the letter F. Okay. Okay, random. So that means I'm going to pick out of my bag of random prompts. Let me get that. Because somehow the spinner wheel being random wasn't random enough. So here's my bag of random prompts. Because, I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't want to put them all on the wheel. Regret that? I don't know. All right, here we go. We'll see if I can get it to focus for you. And if not, oh, well, it was upside down. Let's try that one more time. And did that say what I thought I saw? It did. Oh my gosh. Oh, just wait for it. It's a hubby pick. For a book whose title starts with the letter F, I got a hubby pick. And I wish I had recorded my husband's reaction to hearing he needed to pick the book for me. It was priceless. Anyway, he didn't want to be on camera, which is fine, but he did pick out a book for me, and the book he ended up choosing was Free Food for Millionaires. This is by Min Jin Lee, who's the author of Pachinko, and it's kind of funny because Pachinko is one of my TBR vets, and I think it's rather hilarious that I'm actually going to read another work of hers first. And this is about a woman, Casey Ham, who is living in Queens and is a daughter of Korean immigrants. My husband picked this book for me, he said, because from what he could tell on the back, it talks about economic and class issues, which are both things that he's really interested in. So I guess he thought it would be fun for me to read this because maybe then he'd actually be interested in hearing me talk about it. I don't know. He listens to me babble about my books all the time, but I think he thought at least he'd be able to add more to the conversation. So yeah, so this is a good pick. I'm very happy about it, but it's not a small book. This is 661 pages added onto the TBR. Next is going to be a book whose title starts with the letter R. Okay. Okay, a book or author project. Nice. For a book whose title starts with the letter R, it needed to be a book or author project. Last month, I had it just as book project, but then in my January wrap-up, I explained why I was changing this prompt to book or author. So you can see that video if you want all the updates on the things that have changed on my spinner wheel, but this was an easy pick for me, and I'm glad that I added author on there because I was able to choose A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. Last year, I read Howard's End, and guys, I forgot to put Howard's End on my best books of 2024. It was in contention for being the best book I read last year, and I didn't even put it in the video. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Forster. It was an amazing book, and I've heard nothing but excellent things about A Room with a View, which people like just as much, if not better. I know nothing about what it's about. I literally have just picked up this book based on other recommendations and my love for the one other book of his that I read. That's not true. I've also read A Passage to India, but that was so long ago, I might as well not have read it. Anyway, this is the next one I'm getting to. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm glad I was able to fit it in this month, and it'll be a shorter book at 242 pages long. My next pick needs to be a book whose title starts with the letter B. All right, let's see what happens now. A viewer pick. Wow, I did not see that coming. Okay, I wasn't sure if this was going to come up, but for a book whose title starts with the letter B, it is a viewer pick. And that means I am going to show you all the books that I have on my bookshelves whose title starts with the letter B. And they are on this shelf with Bob and the shelf above it. And so I will probably bring those down and insert a clip where I very quickly just tell you all the titles. It's enough books that I'm not going to go over what they're about because that would just take too long in the middle of this video. So I will show them all to you, and then you will be able to leave a comment in the description box below saying, I vote for fill in the blank, and whatever book has the most votes will be the book that I prioritize reading in February. And when I have finished it, I will do a standalone book review. I got this prompt in January, and I ended up reading Invisible Man, and there were so many people who were interested in doing it that I did a whole read along surrounding it. I don't know if that'll happen this month, but yeah. So you will get to hear about all these bees. And for now, I will just, I don't know, come back to you in a second with all those books. Okay, here we go real fast so that this doesn't take up too much time in the middle of the video. Here are all the books that I own whose titles start with the letter B that you can vote on for me to read in the month of February. The Brush by Eliana Hernandez Pachon. Bread and Wine, written by Ignacio Silone. Becoming Jane Eyre by Sheila Kohler. Babe the Gallant Pig by Dick King-Smith. The Bridge of San Luis Rey by Thornton Wilder. The Brothers K by David James Duncan. Beauty is a Wound by Eka Herniawan. Body and Soul by Frank Conroy. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Macri. Babel Tower by A.S. Byatt. Battle Royale by Koshon Takami. The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Betrothed by Alessandro Manzoni. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Black Boy by Richard Wright. Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann. Black Lamb, Grey Falcon by Rebecca West. A Book of American Martyrs by Joyce Carol Oates. Barnaby Rudge by Charles Dickens. The Black Tulip by Alexandre Dumas. The Book of the City of Ladies by Kristen de Pizan. Beauchamp's Career by George Meredith. Black Empire by George Schuler. The Book of Delights by Ross Gay. Babel by R.F. Kuang. The Book of Ebenezer LePage by J.B. Edwards. The Bridge on the Drina by Ivo Andrick. Black Ulysses by Danielle Panger. Bone China by Roma Tern. Breast and Eggs, which I'll put up on the screen. This is by Mieko Kawakami. The Book Thief by Marcus Zussek. And Belle Green by Alexandra Lepierre. And that is it. Those are all the books that I own whose titles start with the letter B. I apologize if I've pronounced things incorrectly. I try to improve that as I read the books. So don't forget to vote in the description box below which book you would like me to read and do a standalone review. And I'm going to choose a winner pretty quickly. So I am putting this video out on a Wednesday in January, and by February 1st, I'm going to pick a winner. So make sure by January 31st, you've gotten your vote in. So yeah, do that, January 31st, 2025. If you're voting like way later after that, like, sorry, you missed it. Go and see what I ended up picking or what ended up winning. And yeah, let's go back to the wheel because I don't know how how I'm going to figure out how to get to 3,000 unless I keep picking more books. So what I will do is I just won't count the viewer pick towards that page count total. It'll just be added on at the end once I finally get the winner. The next book needs to start with the letter U. This has gone off the rails. I can already tell. All right, I have 4 choices left. The only one that would be difficult is probably the recently hauled. I don't think I've recently hauled any books that have start with the letter U. Let's spin the wheel and see what happens. I swear it loves to play with me. Okay. Oh, I don't know that this was a good prompt either, though. Series-a-thon. All right, let's see what I have. Okay, so a book whose title starts with the letter U and is part of Series-a-thon or can be part of Series-a-thon. Last month in January, I spun the wheel and chose a random prompt, but I realized that was going to decrease the likelihood that I get a book. And the whole point of having this prompt on here is to start working through my series. So I decided that so long as I have a book whose title starts with the letter U and is a series that I'm in the middle of, that I will go ahead and just choose that book and find a prompt to match it. And if you want more details about what the Phase Out Your TBR Series-a-thon is, I will leave in the description box below a link to the announcement video. Okay, now all that said, I did go and look in my section of books that start with the letter U, which is right here. Actually, it's these like 4 or 5 books right here. None of them are even series, let alone series I'm in the middle of. So none of that actually mattered. It's time to pick from the unicorn. And if you're not familiar with what the unicorn is, it's just full of lots of pieces of paper that could be any book on my shelf. Usually it's the ones that have been sitting there for a while because I made these slips of paper a while ago. Here's what it is. Oh, okay, let me show it for more than a second. It's a lovely one. Let me get the book. Anyway, A Lovely One by Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is, I believe, basically her memoir, and I think also talks about like her road to becoming a Supreme Court justice. I am really looking forward to this book. I bought it pretty close to when it first came out. I did buy it last August and I didn't get to it that month. Actually, this was the book that led to me failing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do because I didn't read it in August, but I'm glad that I'm going to get to read it in February, so no complaints there. And Lovely One is 385 pages long, and I might see if I can get an audiobook of this now. Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter P. Okay. I don't even know what's going to work. That'll do it. That will work. 52 book club pick. Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter P and will fit one of the prompts in the 52 Book Club Challenge. This is a nice prompt to get off the wheel because it gives me a lot of flexibility because I choose the book and then fit it to a prompt. And so the book I chose is Parable of the Talents. So I'm really glad that I ended up deciding to just keep choosing books until I hit 3,000, even though I still have the viewer pick because I really want to get to this series. I started the Earthseed series last July, I believe, and this is a book that takes place starting in 2024. And I'm looking forward to getting back into this world. Well, maybe not into the world because the world is pretty bleak and dark in this series, but I'm looking forward to getting back into this series. And this is a book that is the second one, and I don't want to talk about what this book is about, and actually I haven't looked at what this book is about other than that it's a continuation of the story. But the story in book one follows a young woman who is living in a very dystopian version of the US where everything governmental wise and city wise and just countrywide has fallen apart. Things have become very violent, and she's living in a gated community where they're supposed to be safe. And then things go on from there and continue to fall apart even further. And it becomes a story of her journey trying to survive and as she's like growing up and maturing and finding her own place in this dystopic world. This is the second book, which I'm not even sure if it picks up where we left off. I kind of hope it does, but either way, I'm looking forward to getting back into it. There is a lot of discussion in this book about like philosophy and religion and just sort of the ideas that she's coming up with to shape and understand her world and to find meaning and purpose. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where all that goes. This is a good sized book. I listened to the other one on audiobook, and I may do the same with this one because I really enjoyed that. And this comes out to a total of 406 pages. And I will put up on the screen what prompt this is going to fulfill for me in the 52 Book Club Challenge. And with that, that brings me up to a total over 3,000 pages, not including the viewer pick. So let me get together the stack of books that I will be reading and show them all to you. So here we go. Here is the nice stack that I will be working on in the month of February. And yeah, it's got sort of a red and yellow theme going on, which is kind of neat. I love when that accidentally happens. And I'm looking forward to each and every one of these books. Though there are some chunky ones in here, but that never dissuades me. That said, per usual, those are not all the books that I will be working on in the month of February. This is just my pile of possibilities. I also have some other books that are on my definite TBR or to be read list. I have joined another book club with some neighbors, and in the month of February, we will be reading The Women by Kristen Hanna. This is 471 pages long. I have read a work by Kristen Hanna before, and it made me sob my eyes out. So I've kind of avoided her ever since then, but it'll be interesting to get back into her books. This one, my understanding, is about the Vietnam War, but it's about the women who got sent over to work, I believe, as nurses in the Vietnam War. I'm not sure if that's completely accurate. That's just the understanding that I have, but I'm looking forward to getting together with a group of women and talking about the women. I didn't bring it over here, but I will also be continuing to work my way through Year of Wonder, which is a piece of classical music a day. And since there are 28 days in the month of February, I will be listening to 28 different pieces of classical music, as well as reading the 28 pages in that book. I also have the Pillow book that I am working through, and this is a book with about 300 different sections of observations of court life in 10th century Japan. I am looking forward to continuing this work. There were some really interesting observations she made. It really has made me start thinking about keeping a book of observations, basically just reading one section per day. So in February, I will be reading 28 sections, but sometimes the sections are only a sentence long. So there's only actually 21 pages in this book that I will be reading. And my other year-long read that I have going on is Clarissa by Samuel Richardson. This is my big, massive, chunky year-long read. I am doing a read-along with this with a couple of different people. I'll put the link to that in the description box below if you're interested in joining. And basically, this is an epistolary novel about a young woman who gets into some family drama, shall we say, involving a suitor. An inappropriate suitor, shall we say. And this entire story, like I mentioned, is told in letters. And the way I have decided to break this book up over the course of the year is that I'm going to read the letters on the day that they are dated. So in January, we read all the letters at the beginning of the book that were set in January. And in February, I will be reading all the letters that are set in January. And I think there's just 4 letters, and it's only about 13 pages. Clearly, as the months go by, there are some months that have significantly more letters and they are significantly longer, but for now it's still pretty light. So if you're still interested in reading this and you haven't started it, I think by the end of February you'd only have had to read 30 pages. So totally doable to hop in and join on this read along. And yeah, I don't know if I will have any carryovers from the month of January, but if I do, I will put them up on the screen and I will include how many pages of those I have left to read. And so you'll be able to see that. And then finally, I will show you the entire stack all together with the total numbers. So including the ones on the screen, here is everything. Lift it a little higher, that I plan to read in the month of February. I will include on the screen the total number of pages that I would need to read in order to complete this. And if I read every day, I will include the total number of pages I would need to read each day to actually make that possible. So it is a lot. Like I said, the last few books that I mentioned are the ones that I'm definitely reading in addition to the viewer pick. And the rest is just a pile of possibilities that I might get through. There are going to definitely be some that I am going to have to be making careful choices about, particularly Don Quixote and Parable of the Talents, and we'll see what I get read. Yeah, so like this video if you enjoyed this content. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see what I actually end up reading, and let me know what you plan on reading in the month of February, and I will talk to you next time.